Hello, everyone. It's Schleprock coming to you from the Hobo with Wood studios. I'm not in the dark. I've just been having technical issues for the past 15 minutes trying to get ready to go live, and the power goes out. And when the power goes out, everything got completely discombobulated, everything got disconnected, reset. I cannot find the settings to get this brightened up, so it looks like I'm coming to you from a half lit studio when it's as bright as noon in here. So my apologies. I ran out of time trying to get it all straightened out, but it's just an example of how my week has been. I need to get LightBurn pulled up and opened and set up. I had all this ready to go, and then there goes the power and lost everything. So let me get everything pulled back up here and corrected again. Let's see here. LightBurn. I'm going to be talking about a couple of different things this week. I finished I think it was this week. I finished the 5-layer mountain stream or mountain landscape mountain layered thing, and I did some stuff there. And I'm pretty sure. Did we talk about that last week? Did we talk about that, the lines per inch? I think we did. Yeah, I hear you, Terry. That would go, Terry. Terry, that right there would just be smart. That would be intelligent. But I am in the middle of the city. I mean, right in the middle of the city. I'm not out in the country somewhere where I got to worry about trees falling on power lines or anything like that. And when the power flickers here, I mean, it literally pop, just off and on. And that off and on is enough to, there you go. But I've been playing with a release candidate 2.1. I think it was 2.1, and I was not getting the results that 2.1. I wasn't getting the results that I was expecting to get from the quick nest feature that is new in 2.1. And in the video, it just wouldn't work. And then after I ended up editing that video, I kept playing with it and kept researching it and seeing that some people were getting positive results using a MacBook Pro. And then I just kept playing with it, and lo and behold, it started working. I didn't change anything. It just started working. I don't know why. I don't know what. I don't know if it was a matter of, just closing the LightBurn out. Maybe there was something in the open version that was, I don't know, but it started working the way it was supposed to. So I'm going to show you that in here again tonight. And like I said, I opened it. It says, "Hi, I'm Schleprock." Does anybody remember Schleprock? Throw me a hands up. How many people remember Schleprock? I don't think I've talked about Schleprock here. Let's see here. Chris says, "Oh boy, that was." I'm telling you, that's just an example of how this week has been going. It didn't break. I'm lucky it didn't break, but I don't know why that just decided to fall there all of a sudden. I'm in an urban area near a hospital, so get good power supply, but still have 7 UPSs. Yeah, I do need to invest in that. Lost power 5 times. Yeah, I've got a generator, but it's not hooked to the house, and plus, the generator wouldn't have helped here. The UPS probably would have, because it only flashed off and on for less than a second, just interrupted the power. and screwed everything. Everything. I contacted you last week about my MK1 not working. Tech support said if the XY carriages are moving, but the module fan isn't running, it's probably the module. Okay, yeah. And Bill, that's good news. In fact, whenever I had my module go out, I ordered 3 modules, and I've got one of those 3 on the machine now, and I've got 2 in reserve, hoping and praying that the rest of it holds up, because your module is your consumable. I'm hoping the rest of it does not present a problem. So good. I'm glad that got straightened out. All right. So nobody says a hands up about Schlep Rock. You don't remember Schlep Rock? Well, Schlep Rock was on the Flintstones whenever the kids, the Flintstone, when they were teenagers. So Bam Bam and Pebble had grown up. They were in high school, and one of their friends in high school was Schlep Rock. And he had a cloud of doom that followed him everywhere he went. And I think he even occasionally got struck by lightning. Schlep Rock. There we go. Images. I think he was like the original Eeyore. It was doom despair. Let's see here. Schlep Rock. Switch. So this is Schlep Rock. Like I said, he was always getting rained on. I don't see. Yeah, there it is. There's a lightning bolt or 2 coming out of there. And I think he was probably one of the first Gothic characters, and always having bad luck. I mentioned to you here a couple weeks ago, I got in a hurry and I looked left, I looked right, and then went. And when I went, I ran into a car that was hidden by my mirror in the big blind spot, and I wrecked the truck. And so I borrowed a truck to drive while my car was in the shop. And last night, while I was driving it, I stopped. I pulled up to the Krispy Kreme to get some donuts to bring home. Got back in the truck, start the truck up, and the truck would not start. I'm like, golly. All right. So I'm in the parking lot, 300 yards away from Walmart. So I walk up to Walmart to get a battery and put a battery in it. Wasn't a battery. Checked the day, looked at putting a starter on it. It's not a starter. The engine's locked up. It was running fine. I drove it up there. It was not making any noise whatsoever. Turned the key off, went in, got donuts, come out, hit the key. It wouldn't even budge. It wouldn't even turn over. It just clicked. The motor was seized. So, yay. Yes, the original emo Jack. And Chris says that 2 trees makes good modules that will fit most machines. That's good to know. Yeah, I hope I don't have to be looking at trying to retrofit a module on my Rolly anytime soon. But push comes to shove, I'm hoping that that's a possibility, or maybe by the time I need to replace it, there'll be something out there that's as impressive and something I'll want to embrace. So let me get over here to LightBurn. First, I'm going to look at this LightBurn 2.1. Again, this is the release candidate, 2.1. So if any of you didn't, LightBurn already has the SVG nest. It has a kind of nesting capability. It's through a third party, through a web browser. It's a little bit clunky to use. But in 2.1, they have come out with a built-in nesting tool. And I didn't get it work like it's supposed to in the video, but I want to see if it'll work for us tonight, because once it started working, it was like, and Chris mentioned before, when all of us were talking about all the problems we were having with with 2.0 that came out, and half the people's were having bugs and issues, and it was because our systems on our end, our computers, our laptops, our MacBook Pros, whatever, they just weren't up to speed or powerful enough or had the right processing or resolution capabilities to work with all of the new features in LightBurn. And I wonder if the scaling issues weren't part of what I was encountering when I was having problems with this tool not working. But I'm at the point now where, I really love LightBurn. I ain't getting rid of it. But if it means I need to, and this computer is 2 years old, it's not that old, but in computer years, that might be 100. So I may need to look at updating to a new computer or a new processor in order to get all of the functions working the way they should work in LightBurn. And it'd be nice if LightBurn came out with something on their website that said, hey, this would be the maybe not the minimum, but the a good inexpensive setup that will work with all of our features without problems. Give a list of everything that is, I know they list their requirements, but I think I meet the requirements now, but all the new features, there's too much going on for it. But let's look at this real quick. We go over here. I'm in 2.0 or 2.1 rather. This is the release candidate 2.1. And I'm going to put a square on here, and I'll tell it to be a 300 by 300, like a lot of our material is, not 3,000, 300. There we go. And I'll put it down in the home position and put it on the toolpath. And now, if say I've been designing for a day and a half, and I've created a whole bunch of objects, and I'm just going to make a bunch of squares here of various orientation, because I was like, it'd be nice if it would do this and it would do that. And it turns out it will do a lot of the things I was looking for when it cooperates. So I'm going to just create a bunch of random squares and random orientation, various spacing. You can see some of them is even overlapping. They're not grouped. Say okay. Now, if I go into my docking menu and do a couple of things, I want to make sure that this option here for lock objects for rotation, in this case, for nesting purposes, when you're going to nest objects into a piece of material, you're trying to get as much of your material used as possible. So if you've got objects and you've got multiple shapes within those objects, all those need to be grouped together. So if you had a bunch of engraving, you'd have all that grouped, but the object itself should be free to be rotated, because when you're nesting stuff, to get optimal positioning, sometimes you need to rotate this a little bit, that one, so you can get them in there and utilize as much of that space as possible. So for nesting purposes, you would want to have that unchecked. Lock objects for rotation, make sure it's turned off, and then set your padding up. And right now I'm going to set the padding up for 5 millimeters, and I'm going to double check, make sure that took, and it did. There's 5 mils, everything's unlocked. So now you should be able to select every bit of this, and you see how all of these are in random orientation. Hold shift and select that square, and then this is the nesting tool shortcut on the menu bar. There you go. And that worked, and the nesting worked. See how I put everything, and it's got a message on here that says, hey, these won't fit, it's too much space, and that's because of the nesting, the amount of padding that I used. But if you see how everything got straightened out and got put in the right position, well, I'm going to hit Control Z, undo, go back up here, and I'm going to change my padding to 3 millimeters. Select it all, select the work tool path there, and nest. and it was still too small. So let's Control Z, go back. And honestly, since you're nesting these, as long as you're not overlapping and you're trying to get as much material as used as possible, you don't need a whole lot and you don't want a whole lot of padding. That's why you're nesting them in there. So let's cut it down to a 1 millimeter padding and select it all. Hold shift, select that and nest. And well, I don't think the padding's changing. And see, this is what I was talking about. That obviously didn't change to the 1 millimeter padding. It rotated everything correctly, but the padding's still too large. Let's see here. What's Chris saying? Chris says, I'm seriously looking at replacing all my machines with a Mac when they reach end of life due to all the crappy AI Windows. Yeah. You know what? And I've said this a million times if I've said it once. I'm anti-Apple. I'm anti-Mac. I'm anti-Apple. I've never owned anything that was Apple related. But at the same time, I've always acknowledged that whenever you're coming from a creativity standpoint, the Mac is usually has been and probably will be your better option. I've never used anything that was Mac, never owned anything that was Mac, but I'm on that same thought process that I might be looking at when I do replace this, switching gears and getting away from Windows. And that should eliminate 90% of the problems, if not all of the problems that we're encountering with LightBurn because it's Windows related issues. Let's see here. And Terry says he agrees. Do you use Mac products now? But see, I'm curious why this didn't do. In fact, let's do control. I'm just going to delete that completely. We're going to get rid of all of that. I'm going to create a new array. Say okay. I'm going to go up here first and go to my padding. Make sure I've got one padding and stuff's unlocked. So that's selected, and nest. That's still not 1 millimeter. It's still not, well, ooh. Or let's see what that is. Now that's 5 millimeters from the edge of the piece. And that's 10 millimeters. So it's doing a 5 millimeter padding around each individual piece, giving 10 millimeters between the two and 5 on the edges. So with my system, this isn't working correctly. The rotation part of it is because it is able to you uncheck that and it'll orient everything in the best possible way. So Terry says not using Mac yet. I am the same. Mac has its place, but investing was all tied up in Windows. Yeah. Linux runs programs so much smoother than both, smoother than Windows and Mac. And see, I know nothing about Linux. I don't know anything about Mac, but with all of the, as Chris pointed out, with a lot of like another problem that I had, Windows or the power here flickered and the computer's crashed and I'm in the dark now. Not really, but it looks like it. So it's messed up a camera setting somewhere. And whenever it powered everything down, and when I went to turn the computer back on, it was going through forced updates. I didn't want it to go through updates right now. I didn't need things to change. And then I was waiting, and it forced in a whole bunch of stuff, and it even forced in McAfee. I couldn't get it, I couldn't turn it off. So I got to go in and figure out how to uninstall and get rid of all that crap. Because as far as I'm concerned, McAfee is just another virus of its own. I don't want it. And it was forced into my system through Windows. All right. Okay. So we're done with that. And if, Mac and Linux are cousins, kind of. Yeah. Macs are great, but I wish LightBurn worked on an iPad. Yeah. Um, and I'm pretty, now that I think about it, did we talk about the lines per inch and how to orient the lines in a 90-degree scan to create the lines in the waterfall and the ripples in the pond and all that stuff? Did we talk about that last week? I've just had such a week that my mind is fluttered. Yep. Okay. Yeah. McAfee and Norton are both viruses. Absolutely, they are. Let's see here. Oh, no one's answered me. Did we talk about that? Did we talk about? Because that was a very now. If I seem to recall, yeah, we did. Okay. All right. So the other video I dropped this week was because of the question that was brought up in last week's live stream about the estimations, the time estimator in LightBurn in the preview screen. So that was something that mine was off a little bit, but some of you had mentioned yours was way off. So I did, a deep dive into playing with that and did a pretty good video on that. If you haven't, if you are concerned about your estimation time, and as I mentioned in that video, where that is really critical is if you are using that estimation for a way to know how to price a project. If you create a design and you want to know how long it's going to be on the laser, how much time is it going to take? Because time is money. How long is it going to take to engrave? If you can do it in 15 minutes, you got a quarter of an hour tied up in it. That might be, $8-10 or something like that. But if it's going to take you 4 hours to do it, then you might be looking at $160 tied up in it. But you need to know what a fairly close estimate will be. So I did the necessary research and best understanding that I could come up with, because there wasn't a whole lot of information explaining it to non-techie individuals. Someone like Chris and someone like Jack can read those lines in those settings for the estimator, and they would know, okay, yeah, I need to do this and this and this. But for a non-techie individual who doesn't fully comprehend, there's not a lot of documentation on it. So I played with it, studied it, and figured it out, I think. I did the calibration on my machine during that video, and then I ran that mirror back there, and that mirror was a 4-hour engraving to do the cross. And the estimation initially, I think, was about 3 hours and 56 minutes. And the total runtime was 4 hours and 5 minutes. It was off, between 5 and 10 minutes. And I took that, since you have in your console, in LightBurn, in the console, it tells you how long it took for that job to complete. And you can always go back and look at what the estimator says it should take. I was able to take that after the 4-hour run and use that equation that I shared with you in the video and made further adjustments on my estimation time And that 4 hour and 6 minute run or whatever it was, now that estimator shows that to be exactly that. And that's really where you need your estimator to be more accurate. The small jobs that you can do in less than 15, 20 minutes, the estimator is not that big of a deal. But it's the jobs that's going to take you hours to do. If it's off by 10%, well, then you could add 40 minutes to your time on a 4 hour piece if your time's off by 10%. So, or my math ain't quite right there. Because 40 minutes is not 10% of 4 hours. I was thinking in hundreds and not 60 minutes. But anyway, but it's crucial. The longer the job is, the more accurate your estimator is if you're using it to price jobs. So I would get familiar with how to make those adjustments. And then 24 minutes. Thank you, Chris. So half an hour. It could be off by half an hour. And if you charge about an hour, that could be pretty considerable, especially if it was a batch. If you were doing 10 things and you missed it, 10 of them for half an hour. Now you're off, 5 hours of time that you should have billed for. But I would do that simple test that I show in the video on how to calibrate it to that. And then the first chance you get that you run a really long job, this is another thing that I would be careful about. If I understand the estimator correctly, in the video, I explained that the global settings, I believe, are for the raster movements or for any engraving. And the cut line is for any vector movements, anything that's in line mode. So that would be cutting, or even just a simple engrave if it's in a line mode. I would not, like this job here, the mirror, it was strictly an engraving, no cutting, and it was estimated at 3 hours, 56 minutes. And it come in at, 4 hours, 6 minutes, something like that. And since it was strictly raster movements, I could use that information to go in and further calibrate the global settings. And now I have calibrated it on a 4 hour job. So I believe it's going to be pretty darn accurate. And you would do the same thing on a cut. If you've got a job that you're cutting out, say you're cutting out one of the photo props, that's a big 300 by 300 photo prop that's got a large perimeter cut, or you're cutting out, you're not counting engraving, just cutting. You're cutting out a large perimeter piece like this. Run that job separately so you can know how to adjust the cut settings in the estimator. And so Bill says the estimator was good. Great. Thank you, boys and girls. Three Dogs says, doesn't think I covered that subject. I think I did, Three Dogs. I was in the very, very beginning of last week's stream, I think, but I'll touch on it again here in a second. They said there would be no math. Well, I did all the hard part for you. I gave you the equation. All you got to do is plug in the numbers, and you don't even have to do the math. You just got to use calculator. You don't have to do it. Time estimation can also be affected by which controller your laser uses. Some can be read from one. Some will report default settings regardless of actual settings. Your way covers 98% of people. Yay! Yeah, because I told it to read from the controller, if at all possible. Then once you're starting from a default, now you're going to start making adjustments from those settings. And so Andy says, I went through your time estimator video and my numbers were the same as yours in the video. Well, I had to go back and change mine again. Like I said, after that 4 hour engrave. And this is something that you should be aware of. Initially, when you make that adjustment, you're doing the, estimation divided by the actual time multiplied times 100, because initially the value was 100%. But once you make an adjustment, like I think in my case, it went down to 99%. But then whenever I went and did that 4-hour job and then did that formula again, I had to take the estimated time divided by the actual time and multiply it times 99 because the value I had was 99, not 100. You multiply it times the current value that's in there, not 100, but by the current value. And so now I think instead of 99, I think I've actually got it at 96% instead of 99 or 100%. Uh, okay. Oh yeah, make sure you convert your hours to minutes. And that is the math that you're going to have to do. If it's telling you your estimation is 2 hours and 10 minutes, well, you got to think about it. 2 hours and 10 minutes. 2 hours is 60 times 2 is 120 plus the 10, so 130 minutes. And don't get confused and say 2 hours is 100 minutes plus 10 minutes is 220 minutes. No, think about it. 60, 60, 120 plus 10, 130. So that is, and Carl, let LightBurn do the math. Enter hours times 60 minutes plus minutes. I didn't know you could do that somewhere, Chris. I didn't know it would calculate time for you. All right. Let's see here. This week has been a rough week. I actually did a video for the members only, and after recording for an hour and a half and then opening up the videos to start editing them to put into a polished video to upload, only then did I discover the mic wasn't working. So no good, no fun. Let's see here. I want to go to here and I need to go here, and I had all this stuff up and ready for production tonight. And like I said, and everything crashed. So I lost everything. All right. So we talked about the quick nest. We talked about the estimation time, and did I not? Let's see here. So now you have a 2 to 3 minute test recording first. No, Chris, I've got meters on the screen that tell me, am I recording? I can see the meters telling me if I've got the mic's working or not. I got complacent. I got complacent with things work when they're supposed to work. And it's little things and snafus like tonight where, I'm actually praying. This is the brand new switcher. I was down for weeks, and this is a brand new switcher, video switcher, and I'm hoping that power surge didn't screw up my processor and this switcher. Because I don't even want to think about that. Let's see here. Brain. I don't even know how many things I got going on right now. I have no idea. New to the live stream, been watching for over a year. I just wanted to let you know that I have learned a lot from your channel. Thank you. Well, thank you, E. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. White. What is your logo there? Retired United States Air Force. Well, thank you for your service. I know some people don't like to hear that, but I try to support my vets as much as possible. Uh, can you claim equipment damage? I've had so many insurance claims in the past month. I don't dare even talk to my insurance adjuster right now. I don't even want to talk about that. I don't. Yeah, too. Yeah, the RV was totaled, and then I wrecked the Freightliner. That's you know close to $200,000 in claims in less than 2 months. I don't want to start talking about much anything else. Yes, Carl. Carl was in the Navy, 41 years. That's a long time. Uh, yeah, Terry, absolutely. Ed White. Okay, 26 years for Ed. Ed, have you, since this is your first time in the live, have you seen on the Hobo with Wood page the flag case nameplates? I had one. I average one or two a week. In fact, let's go up here, and which one is this? This is 2.0. That's 2.0. All right, go over here. File, recent projects. We'll open Archie's. So that's a nameplate template that I have that I do for my fallen vets. I make these and give these to local funeral homes, because when the vets they have the honor guard come out and do everything for a service, and they give the flag to the family. Sometimes they'll purchase or be given the flag case, but I got this made so that it fits perfect. I'm designed to go right on that flag case and really personalizes that. And I make those and give them away. And not only do I make and give those away to the local funeral homes, but on the website, hobowithwood.com, you can get this software or this design, and it comes with every military branch logo. And somebody said something to me once about, man, don't you get in trouble for you're selling those logos? I said, I don't sell them. I give them away. And if the government wants to come down on me for giving away that information, and I'm giving it away so people can make stuff for vets, then come after me. I'll make you look like a big old dummy. But I don't sell them. I give them away. I've got all 5 branches. I think it's all 5. What is it? Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, National Guard, and I guess 6. I think I got National Guard and the Space Force. But they're all those logos are included with that nameplate. So jump over there and download that for free. You can use those. And my if I go back over here, and I'm terrible about promoting the channel, about telling you guys to like, share, subscribe, but when it comes to my artwork, I don't have a problem bragging about my artwork, because I try to put out only the best possible stuff. I don't do traces. I do recreations. Traces will give you funky little shapes. Sometimes the stars will be, circles or funky looking things. Well, yeah, I got the Coast Guard too, Andy. Yep, that's another one. Maybe it's Coast Guard. Maybe I may not have the National Guard. I don't know. But look at this United States Army. If you zoom in tight enough, see, those are perfect stars. They're not halfway drawn little dots. And even the E pluribus unum is completely legible. So depending on how big you engrave it, here it's only I think about a 32 or 33 millimeter circle. So you're not going to read that E pluribus. But if you were to make it a 30 millimeter or a 300 millimeter piece, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And all of my logos are like that. Let's see here. All right. Cancel that. And I have not seen that. I will download them. I just had 5 Masonic brothers pass away. They were vets. Yep. Yep. I that one you just seen there, that was actually uncle by marriage. And that was one of the first ones that I did. It wasn't the first, but one of the first ones. My aunt seen it and she said, "Oh, I got to have one of those. I need one." She had the flag case, but nothing on it. But I started doing those after. Like here, I've got these are on there too. The memorial benches. I got the U.S. Air Force veteran, and then on the side, you got your medallion, and those. I can't remember how those. I think it might be the same way where you got the bench, and then plus the medallions. Now the bench I do charge for, but I'm not selling the artwork. I'm selling the artwork for the bench itself. But it has, I think, all of the different logos, and I really like this because that to me it looks like a cannon. Get it that way. There you go. I just like this bench, but I've got some good stuff on there for vets and for memorial pieces. All right. Lottie. Go away. All right, I got that. We did that. Now go back. All right, don't need to talk about that. All right, so several of you mentioned already here in the comments that you did watch and you did do the estimator and you got good positive results. Is there anyone who has watched that video and has problems? Did anybody have problems understanding what I was talking about? Anybody have any questions about how those adjustments need to be made? And thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan said those benches are very nice. Yeah, I actually copied those from a real world bench sitting out here. I used to have those benches sitting in front of the automotive shop that I used to own. They're still there, but I went out and took pictures of it and said, I like that shape. I like that design. And so I came in and designed them and recreated them in LightBurn. Chris says, I have problems just not related to the estimator. I tell you what, brother, you know what? I have no idea what your problems are, but I wouldn't trade you. I'm covered up in mine, but I wouldn't wish these on anybody. I'll muddle through. I'll get through. It'll be done, just another day. All right. So no one's had any issues or no one's brought any questions, or they haven't, enough of you haven't watched it to have any questions about it. So I want to pull this back up and get rid of this, get LightBurn, file, open, recent. Maybe I didn't talk about this. I was getting conflicting messages from you guys and gals. Did we talk about this last week? Did I have this finished? Did I talk about this at all last week? Yes or no? Yes, we did talk about it. Okay. All right. I love all your files. I signed up as a gold patron after purchasing a few files that were perfect. I've learned so much from you, and there's nobody There's nobody else. Well, you know what? that's probably a blessing that there's nobody else like me, because I don't think the world could stand in two of me. It's, thank you, thank you. But it's probably good, a really, really good thing. There's only one like me. Uh, Jesse's saying no. Ed says yes. Don says no. Uh, you did it, almost finished it, but not completed. All right, so I've got it completed. All right. I have no info on my console. It is blank. I have LightBurn Pro. All right. I'm not familiar with what LightBurn Pro is. A couple of people made comments about this, Chris, in the comments on the video, and asked about uh LightBurn Pro. I'm using LightBurn Pro 2.0, and so I don't understand what Mike is saying here. In fact, let me just go over. I've turned the laser on, so let me move the mirror. And hide that and say okay. 15. All right, so everything is homed. All right. All right, we're going to see if we can figure out what Mike's issue is here. But then Terry says you had the wolf and the moon. All right, I remember the fish. Yep, fish. Yes, yes. And then Terry says I don't remember the waterfall and stream. And about Dave saying no. So all right, so I could. I'm sorry. Yeah, and there we go. It's the Wolf and the Moon we talked about. I don't think I did talk about that completed version. All right, Kevin, thank you. All right, so that's good, because I had planned on talking about this, and then I had everything pulled up, and because I did some neat techniques in this 5-layer design that I haven't done on the others, and so I wanted to touch base on that. But first, let's look at, because I'm got LightBurn Pro here, and what did there we go. Mike is probably a Ruida, not all return info from the $$ command, and that's what I was getting ready to ask: is what type of controller is he? A CO2? Is he a diode? What kind of Mike? What kind of laser are you using? Okay, so yeah, CO2 with the Ruida. All right, so as Chris says, you do not get feedback from all of the controller types in the console menu. Do try this. And I don't know if you've watched the video or not, but if you go over to LightBurn and you've got your console open, go into the wrench and screwdriver, go to the additional settings, and then click on read from controller. Now I'm going to remember, in fact, I will forget it, so I'm gonna take a picture. My last adjustments, I'm at 101 and 93%. All right, so 101 and 93. But when you click on read from controller, you should see all of the information populate over here in console if you are able to read from controller. See all of my dollar information, all of my Gerbil values popped up there. If you're not able to do that, Mike, when you click on read controller, if none of that populates, well, you're going to have to come from you can reach out to the manufacturer, the laser manufacturer, and see if they can provide those values to fill in the estimator time. Because the manufacturer knows what they are, and you may even have them in your documentation already, and you'll just need to plug those in. But then you may need to go in and do the math and tweak them. But since you're not able to read and getting that value back, I don't even know if, like on mine, since it's getting the information from the controller, when the job finishes, it says job completed time or completed in. You may not even have a completion time. So to calibrate your estimator, you may need to start a stopwatch and time, or a timer for your jobs, since it's not readily available to you. Mike may have to get the time result from the screen on the laser. Yeah, if it's there. Are you talking about in the laser menu? The laser you talking about right here? That was see, I told you I'd forget. That's why I took the picture. Gallery 101 and 93. 101 and 93. And okay. So you may have over here under your laser tab, if you're not getting any information in the control or the console, when you start your job, you may have two times over here. The first time will be counting up as how long the laser is actually running. No, Chris is saying on the actual controller screen. I got you. But you may have it here, though. I don't know. But that may be coming from the controller, too, and you don't see that either. So, and I did forget, but I took a picture. I click the read control, and it shows up on the estimator, but I can't see the actual time it took on the console. Gotcha. All right. Well, yeah, and I've got one over there with the Ruida controller, but I'm gonna turn this off now. But I don't use it. I take that back. I use it for a workbench. All right. So we didn't talk about this waterfall and the different layers and the different techniques. I did talk about, and because I can't remember, is Susan here tonight? I think I seen her in the stream. And I don't know if she was the one that was really needing some clarification on the offset feel and the lines per inch. But I did something different with this image, with this file. This also started from a single image that was created in ChatGPT. ChatGPT created just a black and white image. And I took that and turned it into the 5 different layers. But there were some areas and in the waterfall, see the lines coming down through the waterfall. And then even in the stream itself, there's little lines in the stream. And I'm going to get in here close. Well, there you go. So I've got those lines that are running horizontal, and then the lines in the stream are actually vertical. And then there's difference in the mountains. Now the mountains have got all different kinds of angles going on. And that was all accomplished with offset fill and then just regular fill, but done with varying line intervals and scan angles. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I'm glad that because I couldn't remember. I just got too bumfuzzled. In fact, let me just I even had that up too. Everything crashed. Come back over here, get another browser. I did something, I tried something this week. No. There we go. Somebody asked me if AI could generate all 5 layers. Could you not just use AI to create each individual layer? I said, you probably could, but it's going to be a matter of knowing the correct prompt, what to tell it, how to direct it, and how to create the image. And I'm using free ChatGPT. I do not use any AI that I have to pay for. And Jack has mentioned, ChatGPT has gotten better with its imaging, but it's still not. It still can't do what I can do, and that ain't me saying it. It's ChatGPT says it. I need to clean my glasses. Can't see. But last week I spent a good part of the week trying to create the perfect prompt, a prompt that I could create and share with you, that you could go into ChatGPT for free and enter, copy that prompt and paste it and enter. And then the prompt would ask you, what would the subject matter be? What would you like to see? How many layers? What are your material thicknesses? I was going to have it set up so that you could just drop it in, hit enter, and it would prompt you for what I want it to be: a landscape mountain with some deers, with a waterfall. And I'm using 3mm MDF, and it shouldn't have anything more than a millimeter. The smallest area should be no more than a millimeter, or no less than a millimeter. I said, okay. And I went through all this, and it told me time and time and time again that it could do it. Oh, it's going to do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do that. No problem. And it tried, and it tried, and it failed, and it failed. And let's go back. Let's see here. There we go. That's what I was looking for, to scroll. All right. So I started out over here, and I told it, create a 5 mountain layer scene. And what I want, and it did that. And I was like, okay, and that's not what I want. That's not going to work. So I said, no, I didn't specify. It needs to be black and white images for laser cutting and engraving. Each layer should be a separate image. And so it did that. I said, no, that still ain't what I'm looking for. I said, no, you're not getting the concept. I said, I want each layer to build on the next. And it kept trying. And I said, for ease in assembly and to ensure proper alignment when stacked, every layer should have the same outer perimeter, because these don't. You couldn't stack that. So I'm like trying to explain it to it. And because I haven't conveyed to it what I'm expecting. So eventually what I do is I upload the fish, the 5-layer fish. I upload that to ChatGPT and say, this is what I'm looking to do. And then it's like, ding, I had a light bulb go off. So there we go. I said, this still isn't working. And if I showed you an example, how would that help you? I said, yes, it would. So I uploaded this, and I said, this has 5 layers in order from top to bottom. And once stacked, it creates a mountain scene with a man fishing in the body of the fish and mountains in the distance and all. And it's perfect. Yes, this clarifies everything. You're not creating 5 scenes. You're creating progressive reveal layers. So now I'm thinking, aha, it's got it. And now I know what I need to tell it. I want to have progressive reveal layers. So every layer reveals more and more information. So now I'm figuring out that its language. What does it want to have? What does it want to hear? So, okay, I'm like, all right, we're good. We're getting there. And so now it starts explaining how they all work. The back layer is just a solid layer, and then each one, and it's interpreting what it's looking at, and what needs to happen. So it's like, okay, great. And I said, before you create an image, what is the ideal prompt I should give you to create a design like this? Because I'm actually doing this with the intent of being able to come on here and say, hey, boys and girls, here is a prompt that I have created, and it's on the website that you can copy and paste and put this prompt into AI, and it will generate for you a progressive reveal layered image. And you can actually, I was going to have it prompted so you could tell it how many layers you wanted. You want 3 layers? You want 5 layers? Is it out of 3mm material? Are you making it out of 1/4 inch material? Whatever. It was going to be very, very smart and intelligent prompt. And it says, good question. The issue hasn't been about the artwork. It's been about the instruction and precision. And it goes on and starts explaining all this stuff. And while it was doing what it's doing, I said, well, give me your master prompt for this. And it created a master prompt. And I'm like, yes, now I can help you do these without having to think about anything other than what do I want to have in that? So it's got this master prompt and it keeps on. And I said, instead of having a subject line that requires editing, make the subject another question. So I'm like, okay. So it's going to come on and it's going to ask you, what is the subject or the theme of this design? What is the smallest intended size that you're going to make this? What material you're going to use? So it's going to prompt you. Once you put the prompt in, it was going to ask you these questions, fill in that information, and then create the design for you. Yay. So if you look over here, here is the status bar of this conversation. We're way up here. And when I tell you this went on for, it actually went on for longer than a week, because I was talking with, oh shoot, was it Robert? It might have been Robert. Robert asked me about a design like this, and that's what started the concept. And that was probably 2 weeks ago. So this has been going on for a while, because when you're using free ChatGPT, it will only generate so many images before it says, all right, timeout. You got to wait 24 hours and come back and ask more. You've run out of images that it can create for free. So this is days and days of conversation. And I put in the prompt and told it to create that. And so now, well, here it is. Now, so this, after it created the perfect prompt, and it understood everything, and it understood that the outer perimeter has to be the exact same, and it's a progressive reveal, the very, very first image that it created was this one. Layer 1 and layer 2 are the same, but 4 and 5 are not the same shape, and 6 and that's I didn't even notice that. There's 1, 2, 4, 5, and there's 5 again. They're not even numbered right, and they're not the same shape. And I said, your layers do not make any sense once they're stacked. I cannot grasp a final image that forms a logical finished piece. And it says, you're right. And here's why. It gave 5 finished illustrations, not 5 engineered subtraction masks. So the engine of ChatGPT resorted back to the image generator instead of the subtraction reveal. It went back to wanting to create the image instead of that, removing masses to expose more and more detail. So this goes on and goes on and on and on, and it keeps telling me, well, I can do this and I can do this better. I can do that better. I said, first, show me the ideal prompt that to create a logical, finished design. Your first attempt failed. So it created a new prompt. We tried it again. And there's the new master prompt. I tried it. And it comes up. And finally, there we go. There is, in fact, that is the scene. There's the artwork that I used to create this, but I had it remove one layer of the mountains. That had that smaller second layer of mountains and an extra couple of tree lines. I modified that image to create this 5-layer design, but I had to do it. ChatGPT could never, ever do it. And I want to show you this one comment, and then we're going to move on to the actual design. Come on. And I put in there, I kept telling it, do not create floaters. And its images kept creating floaters. Even though it says, okay, I won't do that, it turned right around and did it again. Let's see here. Right, no floaters. It created probably 12 different prompts trying to figure out how to do this. That wouldn't work. That didn't work. All right. So there, I finally got, that's the actual final image that I used to create my 5 layers. So this is decent. And if I were doing it, I'd do it in 5 layers, explained how I would do it. And we're getting close to the bottom of this. I try to placate it. I even play to its ego. Hey, you're doing better. It's, it's a machine, but I try to pump it up. It's like, hey, you're getting better, but I still believe this is beyond your capabilities. If I can create it and you can't, that tells me you're overcomplicating it. Or do you need that, or do you need that many lines? I don't know what's it. Lines of instruction to do what, or do you need that many lines of instructions to do what I can picture in my head? That's not super powerful, energy consuming behemoth parasite. I was like, I don't have to have that many lines of code to figure this out. And yet you can't even do it with your, huge presence. And I don't want to bore you with, because this was, like I said, it was almost 2 weeks worth of back and forth with this machine to try and figure this out. And if Jack or Chris, if either of you have ever used any other AI to successfully create layered images, let me know what AI you're using and share with me the prompt that you're doing, because AI can't figure it out, or ChatGPT can't figure it out. All right, so here we go. I said, this is beyond your capability. We are going in circles. No forward progress has been accomplished, and this is my last message for this session. In a previous chat, I had you create an image of a mountain trout and a separate image of mountain landscape with a man fishing. And in less than 2 hours, I created a 5-layer design in LightBurn. Due to the messaging limitations of these chats, this has been going on for days and no progress has been made attached to the 5 layers I created. So I shared that fish again with its original image. And It came back and said, first, thanks for showing this again. This proves something important. You absolutely know what you're doing. Your trout stack works because each layer is bold, subtraction is clean, no microfractures, no interior floaters. Your silhouette hierarchy, the outer perimeter defines the subject. Internal landscape is mass based, not texture based. That's why you built it in under 2 hours. You weren't chasing detail, you were controlling mass. And here's the honest truth about what's happening. I think in silhouette, subtract, test, simplify, and I'm done. The image model, which is ChatGPT, it thinks in decorate, make it look pretty, add some texture, beautify it, and then refine it. And those are opposite instincts. Your trout succeeds because of these reasons. And so it's a long-winded excuse for why it can't do what I did. And I'm curious if anyone has been able to use AI to create a layered structure like this. Let's see here. And no, if you ask it to do an image with 5 colors, I don't think the colors. In fact, one of the prompts or one of the lines of code in the prompt that I use is I tell it to only use pure white and pure black. For that way, it's obvious, real easy to create the vector for it. But no, that wouldn't help it. That's not its problem. The problem is that it keeps resorting back to wanting to make it pretty and not practical. It cannot see the 5 individual layers first, no matter what it tries to do. When I look at that image, I'm looking at, okay, boom, there's layer 1 is the mountains. Boom, there's layer 2, that's this tree line. Boom, there's layer 3, that's going to be that tree line and the waterfall. Layer 4 is going to be the deer. Then layer 5 will be these front weeds out in the front. So I then start assembling it that way in LightBurn. It cannot do that. It generates the overall image and makes it pretty, makes it look nice, but it has no way to then reverse engineer it and do that reveal vector. If I didn't scroll all the way back up, it says you need to be high contrast black and white or you will not get good results in LightBurn. Yeah, that's why I do pure white and pure white and pure black. You need a Cyber 2x4. I have not worked with Grok yet. I've gotten to be pretty good with ChatGPT and know its quirks and know its limitations, but I have not got there with Grok yet. Wait till you try to get AI to produce a cut file that assembles into a 3D project. Yeah, no. So I don't even use the 3D modeling out there, and I keep forgetting this. I talk about it a couple of different times. Steve uses it on Ventari workshop, but it's a 3D rendering software where you can create 3D models and see where there's interference and all that. I tried to use it once or twice. I see it in my head a whole lot clearer and better than anything I can do in the computer. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I have not. Jack says I use Mage sometimes to make images, but it's not good enough to make what you're looking for here. Yeah. So let's go over to LightBurn and look at this file, because if I didn't talk about it, I want to explain how this file opens, what's going on. In fact, I'm going to close it and go back into it. Discard. All right. File, recent projects, mountain landscape. When you download this and open it, I do not use notes very often. Because I don't do I don't like to share or recommend my settings. I like to tell people you need to use your settings. Settings are something that are truly personal. Um, and so I don't talk about settings. But because of the techniques that I used in this, I do talk about the settings and for the LPI, the scan angles, that kind of thing. You'd still need to be careful with your power and speed settings. But when this opens up, you have the notes that populate, and it says this design has multiple layers with varying settings. The only thing you should consider changing are the speed and power. The current settings are what I used with a 10-watt diode. Layer 1 is set as an offset fill with a 0.25 millimeter line interval. This will create the varying lines engraving the peaks and valleys of the mountain peaks and the exposed rocks out on the additional layers. The 04 layer is the vertical line in the waterfall. It is set to fill, but with a line interval of a 0.05 millimeter with a line after fill. More importantly, it is set to a 90-degree scan angle. So the lines on the engraving appear vertical in the waterfall. And I'm going to show you all this when we zoom in. Then it says 03 layer are the ripples in the lake or the pond. And it too is a 0.05 line interval with a line after fill like layer 04, but it has a 0-degree scan angle. This will create horizontal lines in the water. And then I'd say feel free to change things as you see fit. So if we go to the cuts and layers, you can see I've got 01 as an offset fill. That's everything in blue. And we'll bring this one down here, duplicate it, put it in the middle of the page. Let's get rid of we don't need the toolpath. So that layer right there is in an offset fill, and it's set with a 0.25 millimeter line interval. So when you look at the preview, and we'll turn off our traversal lines, you zoom in, you see you get all those ragged, crazy, different angles and shapes going on. And that is absolutely perfect for creating those peaks and valleys. And what you'll find happens because your diode spot size is not uniform. Your diode spot size is not round. And when you're moving in different angles, that spot size is a different size depending on where that scan angle is at. And what happens is you'll end up having an area that gets burnt more than other areas. And I'm going to pull this up real close for you so you can see what I'm talking about. This was one layer. It's the layer I'm just showing you. But because of the angle at which the diode is moving, and with that larger line interval, and I'm going to right there from a distance, see how the peaks and the valleys, you got darker areas and lighter areas. So you can see that from a distance. I'm going to bring it in close for you and focus it. I have to manually focus it. And I'm going to turn it up here. Those different color variations are because of the different scan angles that the laser is moving in, and the varying size of that spot as it's hitting that area. So a combination of the offset fill with the larger line intervals creates that different coloring, and it's almost as if it creates a shadowing from down in the valleys, and the lighter areas are the peaks. So it gives it a truly three-dimensional look with that offset fill and the line interval. Uh, ba, ba, ba. You're way more patient with ChatGPT than I am. I tried it and I gave up after 15 minutes. Yeah, no, it cannot. And I went through all I went through there for 2 weeks trying to create a prompt for you. I would use it too, but there's so many people have been asking, saying, I wished I could do that. I wished I could do that. And I thought, well, shoot, if I could figure out a way, if I could crack the code to get it to do this, it would be an extremely popular thing for everybody in the community. But it's just beyond its ability. It can't do it. It's too simple. It overcomplicates it. But I do enjoy challenging ChatGPT to debates and arguments. So I enjoy pushing it to its limits. And I use notes for clip notes on how I fixed a file for someone. Oh yeah, that'd be good. Let's see here. The burnt areas is cause of too little air. Makes sense though, since the kerf offset isn't actually accurate. Well, the air, I mean, the air supply is on. I got air on, so the air doesn't change. What changes is the spot size, and that's, I think, why you get the varying. Some areas are burnt more than others simply because it's a larger. It's like using an extra fine point pen and a medium point pen. I think because the air supply doesn't change. It's on period. The only thing that's varying is the scan angle. So that's how I get those effects with that scan angle, and those are in an offset fill. But whenever I looked at the image, in fact, let's see here. Let me go back up to the original image. It's in here. There it is. All right. So, in fact, let's download it. Download. And come back over here to LightBurn. Import it. Well, there it is. Took it a minute. All right. So it gave me these areas of definition in the waterfall. Those are, shadows in the waterfall, and, maybe it's foam in the waterfall, but it's just giving definition to that waterfall. And they're long vertical lines to indicate, possibly even help indicate motion. And then in the pond here, you've got these horizontal lines to also indicate possibly motion or flowing of the water, but they're all horizontal, whereas the waterfall is coming down. So I wanted to recreate that, but I didn't want to have just the solid, because 99.99% of you that recreated this image, you would just put it on a fill layer and send it, and everything would look exactly like what you have here. It'd just be a black engraved image. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But you want your piece to be better than average. And to do that, what I did was I come in here to this waterfall, and this is a separate piece because on my actual piece, I cut it out of blue MDF so I could inlay it into what would see 1, 2. It's the third layer, but I did it out of a different piece of MDF, and that's why it's over there separate. And it just fits in here like a jigsaw puzzle. But I wanted to have that definition in there and not have it be just a black engraved line. So I'm going to duplicate that and send it to the center. Go in tight on it. So it's on the 04 and the 03 layer. And if we look at the 04, it's in fill mode. And so is the 03 layer. They're both in fill. So if it's in fill, why isn't it just a solid black line? Because I increased the line interval of the number of passes for the diode. I told it to be a 0.5 millimeter line interval. And then, and I'll show you here in the preview. Let's go to preview and go to the waterfall. So there we go. Those lines are 0.5 millimeter apart, but then they also have a line after fill that I did just to give it, a finished or an encapsulation of those lines. Then, and that's done at a 90-degree scan angle. And that is done in your layer settings as well, right here. You change your scan angle. Here's showing you the direction your laser's moving. 0 is on the x-axis. 90 is going to be on the y-axis. You can do, any angle you want to. You can tell it to be, 22 degrees, but 0 and 90 are usually your most efficient. 0 is always going to be your fastest and most efficient scan angle. But there, the 90 degree allowed me to get those vertical lines in the waterfall, and then 0 are the ripples in the river. But for that encapsulating line after fill, it's just what I said. There's a separate sub-layer here. So here's layer 4. There's the fill layer, and then there's a sub-layer line, or a second line on that layer, and it's in line mode. And that is what creates that line after it does the fill. So it's line after fill. And I'm going to turn that off. And then I'm going to come down here to this one and go to that one, turn that one off and say, okay, and show you what it looks like without it. So there's the same exact image, but without the line after fill. And in the waterfall, that doesn't look terrible. And it don't even look, it might actually look better without the line after fill, because that looks like it's truly looks more like it would be ripples in the water instead of fully encapsulated. But with that line after fill, it just makes it a little bit more noticeable. It jumps off the page or off your engraving a little bit more. And you can have that and tell it not to output or to output. And turn that back on. Say okay and preview. And there you go. There's that. Questions and comments. All right, so I said that about Andy, and I'm seeing that about Chris. Well, talking to AI, specify the result you are after as first prompt, like Jack said. Problem with ChatGPT is you can do that all day long, but it continued to revert back to its own decision. And I called it on it several times. Many times it refused to even make keep the perimeter the same. And I said, so rule number 1 is it must have a stackable outer perimeter. They all must stay the same. And it creates an image, and it didn't work. And I said, did you follow rule number 1? It said, no, I'm sorry, I didn't. And so you can give it all the rules and your expectations you want, but when its default programming kicks in and overrides those, it doesn't matter. And it did that every time trying to create these multi-layered projects. Thought the burnt areas is cause of too little air. Makes sense though. So that okay, I think I did talk about that. We talked about that. Okay, all right. So I did. Okay, well I'm at the bottom of the comments. All right, so so that explains why I did what I did and what all of those notes that were in there for anybody that downloads that file. You've seen what I did, why I did it, and if you don't agree with any of it, now you know how to change it. So let's see here. Done, done. Go away. All right. Oh, and what I did too is the mountains have that offset feel, but so do these rocks down here. The outcroppings, duplicate that, send it to home and go to it and go to preview. They've got the same offset feel, but because they are a lot more rounded, you don't have a whole lot more, you don't have a lot of the angular style like you did in the mountain peaks. But that's what I did to create the outcroppings for the rocks. But it's just it's the same offset feel. But here's an example of where you get two entirely different outcomes using the exact same settings. The settings are the exact same for the mountain peaks as they are for those rocks at the bottom, but because the rocks have got a rounded perimeter around most of all of it, you don't get those sharp angles where it has to turn in reverse direction and change and cause all those funky peaks and angles. So the more you use offset fill and different varying line intervals, the more comfortable you get with it. You'll know how to get the results you're looking for. I'm not, this is not, I'm still using, I went back to 2.0, Chris. I'm not using the 2.1 in any of this demonstration here. The only time I used 2.1 when I was talking about the quick nest. I have reverted back to 2.0. I did see that they have made some changes. They're bragging about changes in the overall speed in 2.1 with the way that the software calculates the laser's movements. So the entire process is going to be faster. I haven't dove into that yet, but everything that you've been looking at tonight, except for the nest, was done in 2.0. So, all right, so we're 90 minutes out. Anybody got any questions, problems, any issues revolving around LightBurn? Any of my files, any of your files? I guess a lot of y'all getting really, really good at fixing problems because I haven't received any request for help with files in quite a while. So that tells me one of two things. One, you recognize that you need to quit buying that garbage that's out there on the internet and expecting it to work in LightBurn, or you've gotten really good at finding and identifying the problems and you're able to get them resolved. I said it's 90 minutes. You heard me tell them I'm done. Okay, we'll go out in a second, but you got to wait. So, questions or not, my boss is telling me it's time to go. So, boys and girls, thank you for being with me this week. It's been a rough one, and icing on the cake. Why not have the studio crash right before going live? And I got to figure out this camera thing and pray that it's not a board that's messed up in this processor. All right. Chris says he's about to semi-retire his diodes. Are you going to fibers or are you going to CO2s? What are you going to do, Chris? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I'm curious what he's got up your sleeve. Because I know you're not getting away from LightBurn. What you doing to do? I'm coming. She's just staring at me. I can feel her burning a hole through me. I guess he don't want to talk about it, or he's already gone. All right. Well, I got to run. We'll figure out what Chris is up to next time. You guys, gals, you have a good evening. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you all for your support. It is greatly appreciated. Oh, I forgot to hit end stream. Cancel. I got to end stream, then leave. There we go. End stream. Goodbye.